Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're finally going to get to the Skyline. How's it feel?
Nerve-wracking because we got to take literally everything you see right here is going to be gone. We were talking about this earlier. My biggest worry was, let's say we were to mess up something. I thought we would ruin the whole motor. Turns out that's not the case, which is good, because if that did happen, this is anywhere in the ballpark of like a $3,000 to $10,000 motor, depending on who you talk to.
And the other thing we actually talked about is the fact that it was a year ago about this time that ASUS started looking for the Skyline, and now look at us, we're about to fix the Skyline that I broke.
About a year ago, I started searching for it. Took 3 months to get it. 3 months later, car broke, and it's been sitting for like 7 months now.
Yeah, we've just been super busy, but we're gonna get to it today. First order of business is actually, we are gonna have to take out the fuel rail, which is right there. We're going to hook the battery back up and pull the fuel pump fuse. That way we don't have any fuel coming out. If anyone was curious, we got the fuses for the fuel pump up here, and it's this one. We got the battery hooked up, so we'll pull it out and then turn the engine over. Well, this is the first time we've turned her over in like 3-4 months, something like that. Pretty much since we checked the compression, because when that happened, checked the compression, we drained the coolant out, and then it's been sitting ever since in here. It did sound really weak, but I think that's because the battery's probably low on juice. All right, now that we got that out of the way, we're actually gonna start by taking off the intake piping here, and then we're gonna come down here. We're gonna start, I guess, from like the passenger side to the driver's side, take off the exhaust and all that annoying stuff. It's probably gonna be rusted, but I'm not looking forward to that part. But I think it's actually a smart idea to get like the worst stuff out of the way first. Before we get too far into this, we gotta do one more thing actually, and that's just take pictures. There's so many vacuum lines on this car that we're not gonna remember everything. The other thing that we're going to do as we go along is Jesus is actually looking for it right now. We got some sandwich baggies, and we're going to mark everything as we go. On top of that, we got this whole area put aside, so a lot of the bigger pieces that I think would be harder to kind of forget where they go are going to be right here. And then when we start taking apart like the head and the associated pieces, it's all going to be on this table. I don't think we can really catch a break on this, so I don't know if the camera picks it up super well. Let me turn on my flashlight. But in there is actually caked with oil. So here's a better view. It's caked with oil in there. We'll keep kind of disassembling stuff and honestly just go from there. That's all we can do at this point.
Let's just hope we don't find anything worse. It is what it is, I guess.
Kind of what makes me honestly feel bad is that you bought this car with the intention of it just being a cool daily driver. And you spent the extra money to make sure it was nice. But like when you buy cars from Japan, this is just how things go. You don't know what you're getting until you get it. Yeah. And the importer worked with us, and he was, well, worked with ASUS, and he was fantastic. So it's not the importer's fault. It's just literally luck of the draw.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we'll just take it one step at a time, deal with every issue as it comes my way.
We're gonna finish taking apart the intake piping and stuff so we have easier access to the exhaust and turbo and all that stuff, and hopefully we can kind of figure out what's going on from there.
Yeah, what more do you think? Didn't realize this until Daniel pointed it out. That's a blow-off valve. Because like whenever you see them like in like other videos or like in pictures, they're always super shiny and big looking, but this is just really non-suspicious. And you would never think otherwise. So I thought that was really neat.
We're both in the same boat. We're learning. Well guys, I wanted to give you a close-up of what we were talking about earlier. So you can see that like sludge buildup. Well, that's actually oil. And if you look all the way back there, all the walls are kind of dirty with it. The next part that we're onto is we're going to remove the heat shields, unplug the O2 sensor. And then at that point, I think we're actually ready to pull the turbo off, down pipe, and then the exhaust manifold for this. So we're getting close. We got the heat shield off there, so really our next goal or thing to do is we're going to take off the down pipe. Jesus is already starting to jack up the car. Little side note, man, this is like blistering hot for us. So it's another day of 100+ degree weather in the Pacific Northwest. That's absolutely insane. I think it's our 4th day this week or 5th day. We're not used to this stuff. We don't have AC in the garage, so we're sweating bullets, but we're out here doing stuff because we want to get her back on the road. Anyways, you got her jacked up. I don't know if we'll necessarily film this part just because because it's kind of tight under the car. But for the turbo, we got the 4 bolts. There's 2 on this side and then 2 below that you can't see on camera. Then we got the bolts down here that connect to the downpipe. The lighting kind of sucks down here, but I still wanted to show you guys what we're looking at. So right here is the other end of the downpipe there. So we're looking at 1, 2, and then 3 bolts to take everything off. They're pretty rusty. We didn't put like penetrating fluid on them. So I think that we're probably going to have to use a breaker bar, and there's a good chance we might break those off. Well, little update. Jesus went and got the downpipe disconnected. So you can see the exhaust hanging down there. What we're gonna end up doing is just taking the downpipe off with the turbo, but we ran into an issue. There are the 3 banjo bolts, so 1 on the top and 1 on each side. The 2 on the sides are a huge pain in the butt. They don't want to move. We've tried everything we could think of, and we really don't want to round them off. So we decided that we are going to hit them with PB Blaster, which we've already done, and we're gonna move on, let them soak overnight, and next morning we'll give it a shot.
We're just gonna take off the radiator, call it a day with that. We'll clean up because we only have about like an hour and a half left in the day, and reasonably speaking, if I start on the intake manifold, that's something I'd like to finish all in one day. I don't want to leave that as like a half-finished project.
Oh no.
Does that look like just rust?
I have no idea what to tell you. Okay, well guys, Jesus has a lot of buildup there in those hoses. I mean, I know we had the coolant leak, but dang. Yeah, that's like corrosion, man. That's really bad.
So just replace the hose?
Yeah, we should probably replace that hose. Most of the hoses on here are really old. They're actually brittle. They're breaking in our hands. So we're gonna do lots of trips to the auto parts store. That's the way it goes. So let's get back to the radiator removal. Oh guys, this is bad. I hope that shows up pretty well on camera, but there is a bunch of just like sediment, so essentially rust and corrosion, whatever, that's built up in the system, and it's just caked on this hose. Like, look at that.
If that's how the hose looks, how do you think inside the radiator looks?
Yeah, that is a very good question to be posed, and my assumption is we should probably replace it. I mean, we might be able to get it cleaned. I don't actually know. I guess we'll have to look in there and go from there.
If you look at the water, it looks it's very brown, rusty.
So if there's a lesson to be learned, assume any car you get from Japan's a rust bucket.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Today as a whole has actually gone a lot smoother than we thought. We got the exhaust side pretty much all taken care of. I mean, it's pretty close. Radiator out, so then hopefully tomorrow when we pick this back up, we can easily take off the turbo. Well, we're gonna leave the exhaust manifold on, but hopefully we can take off the turbo fairly easy. So this is the end of day 1. I'll see you guys on day 2. It's day 2. We have not been as productive as we would have liked. Unfortunately, the exhaust side has been a pain. On both sides of the exhaust, there are coolant hard lines. So there's one here and one over there, or correction, on both sides of the turbo. And the one that's over there has been the biggest pain in the butt. And then taking off the bolts for the turbo manifold.
We thought it's gonna be a productive day. We'll get like, at least half of this done. Nah, we've just been literally about like 2 hours just on like those 4 bolts essentially, and the big one for the hard line.
Speaking of the hard line, so here's actually the like banjo bolt that came out of it. It is corroded to heck. It already fell out, but there is literally small pieces of metal blocking the passageway. The whole cooling system on this car is gone to heck, and I'm really kind of afraid to see how the inside of the engine looks. The exhaust honestly did irritate us a lot, and so the way we're gonna do it is we're actually gonna finish pulling the turbo off, and then we're gonna call it a day. We'll come back to this in a week or two again when we have time to work on it together. We can at least say we pulled off the turbo, so that's like a third of the way there, because after that we have to get the intake manifold off, which should be a million times easier since we won't have to deal with the corrosion, and then taking off the timing cover and all the accessories is pretty straightforward as well.
Oh my god, that became so much heavier. Kind of in the way right now. Oh, she's out.
That went pretty easy. Of course though, we forgot to unplug this little guy here. That's not exactly what we want to see. If you look in there, oil and coolant we're mixing. There's some sludge buildup, but on top of that, there's a bunch of corrosion. There's a bunch of little metal flakes that are stacked up right there. It's really concerning because everything just has mounds of rust in it. There's always going to be some corrosion to an extent. You can never fully prevent it, but to have that much is absolutely insane to me. Well, that's all we got for today, guys. Definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and we'll be picking up this project again in a few weeks. Thanks for watching.